Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Wholf Past Echoes. Lex Gray here. So, some big developments in the last episode. We learned where Wholf ended up after going through that portal, and what Jory is going to be doing now, moving forward, because he lost his chance to steal that item, the artifact that the Arcane Veil has been after all this time. Jory is a leader of the Arcane Veil, and Wholf is on potentially a new path, and that is to find his parents. But he ended up in a strange, large structure, almost like a temple. In the prior episode, I was debating whether or not it would be a place the size of Hogwarts or a cathedral in appearance. I think I'm kind of tempted to say it's a place like Hogwarts. It's a school of magic. It could be a school of magic, which makes sense. Let's figure that out. So let's go to our table here with our new mat. And what I will do to start, we do have our usual one-page mythic here, but I want to give I want to give a chance to our tarot cards, which I talked about in my last video. I won't use them as much, but I want to use them nevertheless. So, as we're in this temple, it looks like there is this dragon creature with these large swirling symbols. And up at the top here, there's actually looks like there's two beings facing each other. So I think I'm going to use this literally. Now, what we did discover is that this place belongs to an old enemy of Wholf. He probably can recognize some of maybe the writings on the wall, the glyphics, the designs, because like I said, that we are getting some cathedral vibes here. But I'm going to call this, give this name, the Temple of Dragon. And we haven't really, let me go back to my ugly mug. We haven't really talked about the nature of this world setting. As far as, is it a low fantasy? Is it a high fantasy? Are there dragons flying around? Or are dragons minimal? Are they in the most harshest of regions, the most mountainous terrains, based on this picture? I don't know yet. We're not diving too much into the world just yet. I want to explore it first, and with Fate, it tends to be a little slower compared to a classic hex crawl D&D style RPG. So let's do a check here. In my last video, I didn't do any rolls whatsoever. I was just in storytelling mode. I was trying to figure things out, unfold the paths for both Jory and Wholf. So let's figure it out. Does Wholf recognize anything within the structure he ended up being teleported into? So let's jump back to our solo play. And like I said, I will keep this card aside for now. And as always, he has 3 fate points to spend when he needs to. He has a refresh of 3. So as he's looking around, we learned that this place, the Temple of Dragons, so we have to update the name here. This will be number 4, the 4th location we discovered. So we have 4 here. Temple of Dragon. Okay. Temple of Dragon. And we know for now this place is an old, apparently arch nemesis, potentially, of Wholf from his past. But remember, we're trying to figure out if this is an old enemy, which I believe I already did. Yes, so this is an old enemy of the village of Wholf's past. Not Wholf post uh, brought up, adopted by Edward. Not during that saga, not during that 20, 30 years. This is from his childhood. So, with that in mind, I'm going to have to imply a disadvantage here. So, we're not using the fate dice. I was going to use the Power by Apocalypse method in my last video, but I didn't do any rolls. So I'm going to try that here. With a disadvantage, we're going to roll the 3 dice and choose the 2 lowest. But he's going to be doing this carefully, trying to figure out where he is as he looks around, and can we apply any aspects to flip that disadvantage into an advantage roll. We obviously don't have any stunts that can be applied here. I'm thinking, based on what we see here, Higher of Ashward, Bound by Lineage, Lessons Taught by Edwin, Enhanced Senses, Control of Shadows. So, could we turn this around for Edwin? Giving him an aspect in my house rules here would, based on Power of the Apocalypse, would apply an advantage roll. 2 of the highest would be resolved, would be considered. So, using careful, we're trying to figure out, does Wholf recognize anything? And I'm going to say we can probably either compel an aspect, maybe something brings back a haunting memory, a very disturbing memory from his childhood, based on the events of his village of Ashford, that he saw witness the destruction of his family or the village itself. We can compel him to do that and gives him a fate point, and then he would have to roll disadvantage. Or he can invoke an aspect, not an ATM, an aspect based on his character sheet, because he is the heir of Ashford. Bound by lineage could be also it's trouble. I'm going to let him invoke, so we'll spend the fate point. Actually, let's flip these to blue in the theme of fate. There we go. That's better. Plus, you guys can see a little better compared to the green playmat. So we will invoke the higher of Ashford, however you pronounce it, and we will advantage. I'm not going to compel him just yet. So here we go. Ooh, that's a perfect. Remember, this is from his childhood, so that's a perfect 12 plus the careful 13. So roll equals 13. That is a success with style. So basically SWS. Success of style in fate terms. Not only does he recognize the carvings or the look of the structure, the interior of the building, but he knows exactly what this place is. He is disturbed to know where he is. He has been told about this place by his parents, by the village elder, by rumors, stories. The Temple of Dragon, as he recalls, the Temple of Dragon, as he's looking around, this was the base of operations for a syndicate that was responsible for the destruction of this village, of his home village. Now, I don't know if I'm retconning anything from the past few past videos because I might have considered that the village was destroyed due to the Dark Realms, but then I realized no, the destruction, the Dark Realms was ultimately the portal was peaceful. There was no resurgence of any evil force or dominion to destroy the village per se. So I think the village was destroyed by an exterior force. That was not the Dark Realms, but that was somebody or something, the Temple of Dragon. So whoever it was stationed here was arch enemies of this area, maybe even the city. So let's write that down. The Temple of Dragon was basically the base of operations, base of ops for a syndicate. Now, the Temple of Dragon is the name that he recalls. And is there anybody here? That's what we don't know yet. Maybe it looks abandoned. We can ask the Oracle. Is there anybody here at the Temple of Dragon? I'm going to say that's a minimal 10%. That's the smallest I can do. 71. There's not. This place is abandoned. Okay, it's abandoned. Because it's abandoned, Everything is there's dust everywhere. There's books laid around. This large kind of cathedral. We're almost like in a church hall of sorts. And there's a large stage in the middle. There's an altar, but again, there's daylight seeping through, and the air is stale. Smells not terrible. Just smells like not death. Just smells old. If that makes sense. Like rotting smell like food. Maybe there's some food left out. Anywho, he's going to explore. He's wondering why he got teleported here, and also if there's anything after he got teleported. I'll just increase my volume a bit so you guys can hear me. Hopefully, there we go. He's looking back to where he was standing as he appeared. To him, it was a flash of light. It was a flash of light in pure darkness, and then he appeared. And then there was that shade of darkness that enveloped him and seceded, receded back into the ground. So he looks down and he can see his footprints. There's dark footprint marks of where he appeared. So we're going to do another roll, and this will be him trying to figure out if he was teleported here because of the mirror. So we're going to do a roll. This will be a common roll, just two, and he'll be using um, careful. That's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a partial. So because it's a partial, he notices maybe this roll can lead up to him seeing his footprints on the ground. Notices his footprints etched into the ground, but because it was a partial success, I'll let Paul see the footprints etched in with some magical means. But then as he looks to it, it disappears, so it goes away. That's the partial success as to why it's gone. Okay, so now let's roll to see what happens as he's looking around as he explores a bit. The first one is 27. That's going to be danger. I'm sure we rolled that before. Here we go again. Next, we'll do 4. Beautiful. Okay. Oops. Beautiful. Okay. All right. What does this mean? Beautiful danger. Danger beautiful. It's dangerous to him, but it's beautiful to look at. It's mesmerizing what he sees, but it's also dangerous to him. It could be dangerous to him metaphorically or literally, figuratively or literally. I'm going to say it's mesmerizing. And what he's looking at, as he is staring, looking around, he sees behind the altar on the stage, the sunlight starts to kind of reveal it as the sun is moving. It starts to reveal a large, gigantic statue of a dragon, a very elder dragon. This dragon is on his all fours, and his mouth is jaw is wide open, and he is completely in stone. It's a stone dragon. It's basically a gigantic statue gets revealed based on the sunlight. So he sees a giant. Wait, let's write down this camera view. Giant statue of a dragon. And with that being said, I have an idea here. So often I have a tendency to pull inspirations from movies. The Desolation of Smaug, which was the Hobbit, the sequel, I think, the second one. As he sees the dragon, the statue, he begins to have these flashback moments. This flashback of random bits and pieces of his village being attacked by a dragon. And it looks just like this massive one he's looking at. So, this leads us to know that his village was destroyed by a dragon. And now I mean, the dragon is a perfect fantasy go too. So we're emphasizing that there is, or at least were dragons in this world set of Escobar. But was the dragon under the influence, DUI, was it being controlled by someone to do such a, such a horrible thing? Says the Oracle. So again, he's just, this could also lead to the flashback snippet of him seeing the dragon by itself, or someone's actually riding the dragon. We're talking Game of Thrones, like someone's actually, or How to Train Your Dragon. Someone's actually a person's on top of sitting on the dragon, you know, basically flying it around. So let's ask that question for the Oracle. 50% chance, I think, because it also can be controlled from a distance. Be following some commands from some superior. 50% chance it was being written by, oh my gosh. Okay, so 55. So let's move this card out of here. We've already used that one. I'll put that back in the deck. And the dragon was being commanded by from a distance. So this means it was just the dragon itself. He does not see anybody from in his memories, in his flashbacks. He doesn't see anybody on top of the dragon. It's just the dragon itself being flying around and shooting Spitfire at the village. And he hears screams, and he then hears the same screams he heard from earlier. What this mirror does, his parents were not in the mirror. The mirror is a type of device that portals you away, but it uses your past to portal you somewhere where you should be. Based on what you're looking for, what you're trying to accomplish, it basically portals you away. Now, where did the mirror end up? Is the mirror completely? Is the mirror actually destroyed? Was the mirror a temporary magical artifact that, once it was used, a trigger would have been enchanted into it to demolish, to destroy itself once it was used? And I think here's what I'm thinking: his parents, or a village elder, or someone, created this mirror and knew he would find it years later. So most likely his parents would create this mirror or enchant it. Maybe it was just an artifact or it was just a mirror that they had in their house. And this vault was belonged to the village. Maybe it was raided. I don't know. Again, that's like we can look into that in a different episode. But this mirror was crafted by his was enchanted with magic, imbued, endowed or imbued, was crafted with magic by his parents, a spell that only he can see and only he can touch. As he gets into it, it teleports him to this location, Temple of Dragon. And that's why he's here. So there we go. He has flashbacks. Let's go back to my camera here. Episode 20. I almost forgot about that. Episode 20. And then right here, on location 4. Now, let's write down that his parents imbued, I hope I'm using the right word for that, imbued a spell into the mirror. It was a one-time spell. It was just they enchanted it to teleport him to the temple. They most likely thought he would come back. Maybe they know. You know what? I think now, as I see it, Edwin was an outsider to the village, but he knew. I'm gonna tear up now. Edwin was actually Wholf's uncle, but he didn't live in the village. He was an outsider. He was banned, forsaken. I forgot the word, but he wasn't allowed back. He did something. He was he was a traveler. He had interests outside the village. He didn't really spend much time. Maybe for that he was not allowed back. I'll remember the word, and I'll probably just randomly say it later in the episode if I recall. Such a simple. It's on the tip of my tongue. But I got a lot of these brain farts lately. So Edward is actually his uncle. He's a relative. So this is a big three-star moment. So Edwin was his uncle, and Wholf didn't know that. He didn't know. Okay, Wholf didn't know. And because of that, he just thought he was some outsider. So his parents entrusted uh, Edwin to take him to safety. So while the village, I mean, this is a very simple, generic story, backstory. While the village was under attack, Edwin was there for whatever reason, and his parents gave maybe Wholf was injured or unconscious. They gave him to Edwin and said, "Please take him to safety. Do what you must. Keep him away from here. He must not know of his heritage." And so he did. Edwin kept him away, and maybe the village was lost. And so Edwin was trying to discover the Dark Realms, or figure out a way to bring back maybe his either brother or sister, whoever it was. Maybe he was related to. Maybe he was mother's. Yeah, maybe he was on his mother's side, her brother. So let's put that down here. Edwin was his mother's brother. That's actually some very important details. A big start for that. So they they send him off and just says, keep him away from the village. He must not know of his heritage. This will destroy him. And behold, he does discover his heritage. He becomes here. He comes back to the very area he was born, and now he's under attack, or he's in danger of the arcane veil. Now, did the arcane veil have anything to do with this destruction of the village? Were they in the Temple of Dragon? I don't think so. I think the arcane veil came years later, completely separate syndicate, a completely separate, I should say, faction than the Temple of Dragon. So let's say that Wholf just knows of the Temple of Dragon. He knows what to look out for. He knows their writings. He knows who they are and what they did. Maybe just up to that point. He knows what they were known for. And then the dragon attacked. And so we're back to square one. Okay. That's where Wholf is right now. He's in the Temple of Dragon. He sees this gigantic dragon statue that looks like the one from his memories of the very one that attacked his village. I'll put that in here. Dragon in flashback scene. All right. Now let's go to Jory. We're going to do a little time jump here, or location jump. We're now at the Haldrith. We're outside the entrance of Haldrith, and Jory is approaching, being followed from a distance from so the watchful eye of some scouts of his. But again, he's in character. He has to remain in character because he wants to get back in the village, or he wants to get back in the archives to see if he can steal anything that's valuable inside, or he's still trying to figure out if he still needs to find Wholf for whatever reason. So Jory is back in Haldrith. He's at the entrance, and he greets the guards. He is the guards. Let's try. Well, now they obviously know of. They know of Haldrith. I'm sorry. While I sharpen my pencil here, the guards of the city of Haldrith know very well who Wholf and Jory are. They helped distinguish that problem from earlier. It didn't exactly go as planned, but they did capture that one arcane veil member that Jory kind of just let them take, that he supposedly caught. So he's talking to some guards. I'll just write this down here quickly. And the guards ask, maybe they vaguely knew about him venturing out into the ruins of Ashford, and the guards ask him, where's your compadre? Where is Wholf?" And we figure out if Jory in character is going to reveal that Wholf is in danger and he's seeking the help of the archives, which probably would be the best bet. Yeah, he's going to do that. He's going to talk to the guards. He says, "Wholf is in danger. I need to speak to the archives right away." Maybe the guards have some kind of connection with the archive group, like some kind of trust factor or some kind of established trust. So the guards are obviously going to say yes. Doesn't really require much of a role. But we don't have a character sheet for Jory. He's still in NPC mode. He's still an NPC in some respects. But we're doing like canonically, we're jumping over the Jory. Now, game masters, this would be running in your head. This wouldn't really be playing out from the character's perspective. But because it's solo play, I want to include you guys in this on this little side quest for Jory, when he's not essentially a playable character, but I'm controlling him. So he's not exactly bound or limited from our puppet master here. So Jory is guided through the alley, through the city to the archives, their main headquarters. So let's write it down. The guards take Jory to the archives. It's almost a large library with thousands of books, hundreds of halls, and many people are. It's a library. It's a public library, but the area that he's looking for is in the restricted section of the archives. And he's asking the guards. The guards drop him off, like they're taking the carriage or some horseback. They go into the middle of the city. He's at the archives. He enters. He speaks to the main receptionist at the front desk after answering your phone call. Yes, how can I help you? And he's asking if Alessa is in. If Alessa's here. And so the archive, I guess, bookkeeper, librarian is kind of looking around mysteriously, and she nods and she points to the back of the room. Now, maybe Valessa's name is so Valessa's not very well known to the public, but if you know her name, then you have connections. So the librarian is going to assume that, well, is it not easy just to ask for someone who's with a secretive organization within the city to just walk in and say, "Hey, can I speak to this one person?" Let's establish a world setting here. We got to figure out how well known or secretive the archives are. The archives are a group of they are basically the good, the counterpart, well, more neutral, the counterpart to the Arcane Veil. The Arcane Veil are, like I said earlier, they're evil, they're criminals, they steal artifacts. The archives are more like collectors, like the collector from the Marvel universe. They collect artifacts and they record keep, they bookkeep everything for the greater good kind of thing. So they're more like an organized bureaucracy compared to an Arcane Veil that's more of a loosely fit syndicate of sorts. Like pirates, basically, a pirated version of the archives. There you go. So Arcane Veils are the polar opposite, the other side of the coin. So we got to figure out how well known they are to the public. Okay, let's roll. Actually, let's put this down. Question mark. How secretive? Yeah, we'll do secretive is the archives. We know, obviously, they are known to the council. Well, this is more to the public. Okay. I realize I don't have to write down every single question I ask. So, how secretive is the archives to the general public? We can either ask that as a percentile question, or we're going to ask the Discover meeting. I'm really curious what this actually can draw out for us. All right, let me reroll the 10 die. 58. Harm. Okay. Not sure what that has to do with anything. 3. I rolled beautiful and re-roll that. 98. Wow, way down there. Valuable. Okay, well, that harm, if they were known, it would bring harm to the public. So the council of the city of Haldrith has them as a secretive organization that operates within the library. So they're called the archives for a reason. They work below the library's actual structure. So they're beneath it in the tunnel system or in some kind of bunker. So they, because of harm and valuable, they have valuable items. If they were known to the public, that would bring harm to the city, even though the Arcane Veil is well aware of the presence. But again, a competing force. So they are secretive. Okay, secretive. Now, which means we kind of have to step back our approach here with Jory. Jory enters, and he's standing with one of the guards. He says he's playing stupid. He probably knows where the archives are located beneath, but he has to remain in character. So Jory asks the guard, where can I find the archives? This looks like a library. It's just a giant library. They're staring at the main entrance. The captain says, does the captain know? Actually, that's a good question. I don't really think the captain does. So does the captain, sorry, not the captain, does this guard, he knows of the archives, oh, plot hole. Almost a plot hole. I was wrote myself into a corner here. The guards know of the archives, but they don't tell the public. So when Jory asks him, where are the archives? The guard, he shushes him, and so he grabs his arm and takes him to the corner. He says, we don't speak of the archives out in public, not even in the library, not even the halls of the library. He says, if you need to find them, speak to something dark side. So we gotta figure out who Jory needs to speak to, and the guard is going to direct him. But that's a question. We know the guards know that the archives are in the library, but do they know where in the library? That's a question for the Oracle. 50% chance. Nope. That's a solid no. This one guard, this guard does not know where the archives are, I should say, within the library. That's a little fact there, a little world setting. Okay, Jory can't really pull any ATMs here. Aspect the moment, my house rule. I made a video about that. He can't really. He's an NPC. I don't really think I can give him a well, maybe I can try. I mean, I never really thought about that. Can NPCs, can the game master initiate an aspect? I know it can in combat. The aspect can be thrown against the player. Let's try it. Why not? Okay, let's do our first ATM actually for a while. So let's write down. He's a little conundrum here. Jory is trying to figure out where the archives are located in the library. I mean, he could just walk around and look, or act like he's a he's a walk into the library like anyone else would in the public. But let's roll an aspect at the moment. So Jory's asking the game master myself. Aspect moment 77. Object. Okay. And then 52. Light. Ooh, okay. We know it's a staff. Remember, he has a staff. Write down staff. His staff can emit a light. He's not going to use that right now. It doesn't make any sense. But the object is a staff. The light is a reference to what a staff can do. It's a magical item. This is his go-to. This is his weapon of choice. This is literally his heart and soul in the story. The staff is his main item of choice. So Jory is thinking, well, I can use the staff to do another detect magic like he did from earlier in the chamber. And the Chamber of Secrets at this point. I mean, the Harry Potter parallels here are almost too easy. But I think Jory is going to take it from here. He tells the guard doesn't know. He said, I have no idea. He says, I know I've been told they're here. As he's whispering, I know the archives are here, but you'll have to find them yourselves. I don't have jurisdiction or I can't do much in the library. So Jory's thinking, okay, as a secret, as Jory, inside, he is grinning like crazy. Remember, he's a mortal enemy of the archives. But do the archives actually know about Jory's existence? Do they know who the leader is? That's a question for the world. And that would be tough here because that would ruin a lot. Jory is risking himself, his identity, to go into the very his own enemies. He has a magical spell that camouflages his appearance. He is hiding his real identity. I just realized that now. He won't be waltzing around if he's from a well-known enemy faction in the archives. He is using an enchantment to cover his appearance. I feel I forgot to think about that. Yeah, so let me write that down. Uh, Jory uses magic to hide his true identity. There we go. That makes so much sense, and that basically gives me a plot device to plot armor to let me do what we're about to do. Okay, so he's looking around. He uses a staff to um, kind of discreetly. I would roll this if I had a character sheet, but I'm not going to really worry about that right now. He's using a staff to find a magical presence in the air or somewhere where the staff would show only from to his eyes. The staff only shows up to himself. Again, how convenient. But he's going to try to locate where there is an unusual amount of magic residue in the air. He finds it. It's in the back of the library, and it's downstairs. There's a stairwell that kind of goes down, and there's a vault door. So he is about to step down the stairs, but somebody stops him. Let's write this down. So the entry to the archives is downstairs. And he is stopped by a archive member, or archive guard. And this guy is actually, this individual is dressed like a commoner. He is blending into the environment. He looks like he's just here to read some books. So he looks like he's just in common clothing. I'll put that, he looks like a commoner. Anyways, stops him on his shoulder, and does this commoner, or I'm sorry, this member of the archives recognize Jory from earlier? Perhaps he was helping out from the battle. I want to say 75% chance. That is a negative. Okay, so what this means is that this archive member does not recognize Jory. Because that's a hard no. He stops Jory mid-flight, just as about to walk down the stairs, and is ready to basically attack him because Jory's about to. This member of the archives is bound to guard this entrance for dear life. They disguise themselves as a commoner. They're always in this area of the library. If they see anybody approaching the archive entrance downstairs to their facility, they are going to intervene. And just as he's about to take his first step downstairs, he is stopped and he feels a grip on his shoulder. And Jory turns around to see it looks like a commoner, but he has unusually high strength. Jory, if he was attacking in his other identity as the Arcane Veil leader, he would have strike and no questions asked. But he's currently in Jory mode. So he would say, pardon me. He would just basically says, pardon me. And the member says, there's nobody allowed down there. State your business, or you'll be escorted out immediately. So Joy says, I'm here to speak to Valessa. It's urgent. Wholf is in danger. I need help. He gives these reasons. This could work. I'm going to assume that if Valessa knows who Wholf is, and the situation, the return of his family lineage, the presence, then the scroll, that I think everyone is like Borg. They know what's going on all together. They have this shared web of information. So I want to say yes. The guard, Jory explains, and the member listens. Now, the member of the arcane, this archives guard, lets go of his staff or his arm, whatever he's holding, and nods. As he looks down, he sees like a little window in the door that was open watching the whole time. It closes and the door opens slowly. So there was somebody watching at the door the entire time while this confrontation was about to ensue. So the door opens and there's a greeter at the door. It's just an old lady. It's just a kind of short old lady. She's smiling. She's like she has her own little staff, and she's a magic user. She gestures to Jory to come right in. Let's write that down. So there's an old lady with a staff that allows him to enter. So now he is downstairs, like where I'm writing right now on the camera. I'm downstairs in the archives, as it's called. He is in enemy territory, and so as he's being guided through the archives, he is just gleeful at the moment. He's like, I am in, for the first time in his career as a leader of the Arcane Veil, he's in enemy territory. He can do so much damage right now to them, but he has to remain in character. And it's very tempting for him to break character at the moment, but if he does, if he becomes corrupted with greed and vengeance, his spell will wear off. And this old lady, I think she's actually a powerful magic user. And if he spills the beans on who he is, this will backfire. He's surrounded by the archives, and they are no pushovers. So that's what happened with Joy, as he's being guided through the archives. But the old lady guides Jory to Valessa. Right? That's 2 stars. And there you go. That's episode 20. I think this was a pinnacle moment in establishing where our characters are. Again, all of this stuff happening with Jory could happen off camera, but I don't want it to. I'm going to focus on Jory. I want to see how well Jory can be developed into an actual character for us to play. Another character sheet, so we have 2 characters. But for now, it's just Wholf. And Wholf is in his own little adventure. He is at the temple, and he is discovering that the dragon that he sees is that, well, we know from a narrative standpoint that, you know what? The mirror brought him here. Let's jump back to Jory. I'm sorry, let's jump back to Wholf. So the Temple of Dragon, I have an idea. This might be a little out there, but let's try it. Okay, so Wholf. Temple of Dragon. Temple of Dragon. He's having flashbacks of the destruction of his village, of Ashward. Okay, and because of that, it is the dragon attacking. And so he snaps out of it. He falls on his knees and he's breathing heavily. He's like, his eyes are maybe, they were like almost like little images of what he's recalling. He snaps out of it. And for this, I'm gonna give him, I don't have mental stress in my Arcane Fate Accelerator does not have mental stress. It's just stress and the consequences. So what this does, it amplifies his trouble bound by lineage. So this will actually alter his trouble. Let's do that. This alters his trouble aspect. So bound by lineage, I'm going to say, let's see. basically, I wrote memories of death. So as he thinks about um, that, it alters his trouble aspect, which is now memories of death. And because of that, like I was saying from earlier, what is going to be our controversial thing? It's more controversial for storytelling purposes. It's kind of a hack. Here's one thing. I believe as he's standing there, his parents appear in some fragment of his imagination. Not, it could be their spirits, but I believe they appear around him. They both appear as he's looking at the dragon. He stands back up, and now he's trying to reach not a milestone, but he's trying to come to terms with the destruction of his childhood, of his home, by looking at the dragon and facing the very fear that he has inside him. So he's looking at the dragon. He walks up to it, and the dragon actually stares him down. Like it doesn't move its head, but like you can see it perspectively, it's looking at him. So let's write that down. He walks up to the statue, stares at it, and because of that, he can feel a hand with sympathy, empathy actually, put a soft grasp on his shoulder. He looks back and he sees his parents in a ghostly form. So, parents, spirits, I should say, appear to him. That is how I'm going to end episode 20. I was thinking about when to bring his parents in, whether they're alive or dead. They're dead. His parents are gone. They were killed here, and now the spirits were either. Think of it like this: the Superman Man of Steel movie with Henry Cavill and his father, Jor-El, I think, was in that little device that they put into Zod's ship, and then he's able to interact with the ship and to walk around. That's how his parents are with the mirror, and that the spell that gave them the echoes of their existence are not bound to, maybe temporarily, but they're currently bound to this situation, to this very moment in time, and they're going to talk to Joy. We reveal some details, some secrets we don't know, but they're going to talk to him. And that's going to be the closing of episode 20. I think this might mark a new saga, a new title series here, a new chapter. Past Echoes makes sense, and I think now he's approaching his past. I'll think about it. I'm not sure yet, but I'll think about it. If we see the new title next video, then that's a guest. So, as always, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I sure did. I'll see you next time.